Hearts and Harvest, a second chance romance.
As the sun sank beneath the rolling hills of Mateo Farms, a warm golden hue enveloped the landscape, the wheat swaying like a sea of liquid gold. The familiar dust rose slowly from the gravel driveway, stirred by the tires of a sleek black BMW that had long lost its connection to the earth. Thorn Mateo stepped out, his expensive Italian shoes crunching against the stones he once raced barefoot over as a child. At 26, he was a striking figure in his tailored suit. Yet his dark eyes were devoid of warmth as they scanned the familiar terrain that had once held his dreams. "Well, well," he murmured, adjusting his silk tie, a smirk curling his lips. "Still the same old dirt and decay." From the passenger seat emerged Cammy St, her auburn hair gleaming like spun copper in the waning light. Although she wore designer clothes, she carried an ethereal quality, a gentleness that seemed to infuse the air around her. At 19, her beauty could evoke tears from angels, but it was her brilliant mind that had captured Thorn's interest at Harvard. "It's beautiful, Thorn," she said softly, her green eyes soaking in the pastoral scene. "I can see why your family loves it here." Thorn's jaw tightened, the warmth of her words barely grazing his icy demeanor. "It's a prison, Cammy, a gilded cage for dreamers, turning them into, well, farmers." The word dripped from his lips like poison, leaving a bitter taste in the air. From the barn, laughter floated on the evening breeze, and soon Luca Mateo emerged, leading a magnificent chestnut mare. Dust clung to his work clothes, but his smile radiated warmth. At 22, he bore the same strong jaw and dark hair as Thorn, yet where Thorn's features were cold, Luca's exuded love. "Thorn," he called, his voice a melody of familial joy, despite the years of unspoken tension. "Welcome home, brother." Thorn's expression shifted to forced civility. "Luca, still playing in the dirt, I see." The jab landed, but Luca's smile persisted. His eyes shifted to Cammy, and in that moment, something deep within him stirred, a recognition that transcended physical attraction. It felt as if the Holy Spirit whispered, "Pay attention. This one is precious." "And you must be Cammy," Luca said, removing his work gloves and offering a strong, honest hand. "Thorn's told us so much about you." As their hands connected, Cammy felt a jolt of safety, perhaps even hope. For a fleeting moment, the walls she'd built around her heart trembled and wavered. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Luca," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. On the farmhouse porch, twilight cloaked the world in soft hues as the family gathered around. Elena Mateo burst through the screen door, a whirlwind of love wrapped in a flower-dusted apron. At 52, Thorn and Luca's mother still held the beauty that had enchanted their father decades ago, but it was her spirit, anchored in unshakable faith, that shone the brightest. "My boys!" she cried, enveloping Thorn and Luca in fierce embraces. "And this must be Cammy. Oh, sweetheart, welcome to our family." Before Cammy could respond, she found herself engulfed in arms that smelled of cinnamon and unconditional love, something she had never truly known. Tears threatened to spill from her eyes as Elena murmured, There, you're home now." Roberto Mateo appeared in the doorway, his hands still damp from a day's work. At 55, he was a man who found God in the toils of sowing and reaping, in the rhythms of nature that echoed both literally and spiritually. "Thorn," he said simply, embracing his eldest son, the unease palpable between them. "Son." "Dad," Thorn replied, his voice laced with duty, but lacking warmth. Roberto turned to Cammy, his gentle strength echoing in Luca's character. "Miss St. John, we're honored to have you here." "Thank you, Mr. Mateo. Your home is beautiful," she replied, her heart swelling with warmth. "It's Roberto," he smiled, "and this isn't just a home, it's a sanctuary. God has blessed this land for 3 generations." Thorn rolled his eyes, though subtly enough that Luca noticed, as the sun dipped lower, casting shadows across the farmhouse dining room. The air thickened with the rich aroma of Elena's feast, roasted chicken, fresh vegetables, and bread kneaded with love and prayers. Cammy sat between the brothers, acutely aware of the sharp contrast between them. Thorn was tense, caught off guard as Cammy accepted Elena's invitation to help plan their wedding, preferring the warmth of the farm to his rented condo in the city. "So, Cammy," Roberto interjected, passing the mashed potatoes, "Thorn tells us you studied animal science." "That's wonderful. We could use your expertise around here." Before Cammy could answer, Thorn cut in. "Actually, Dad, Cammy will be working with me at Uncle Derek's company. Her talents are too valuable to waste on this." He gestured dismissively, disdain heavy in the air. Luca's fork hesitated. "What's wrong with this? What's wrong with honest work that feeds people?" "Nothing," Thorn replied smoothly, "if you're content with mediocrity. But some of us have higher aspirations." "Higher than serving God by caring for his creation?" Elena's warning tone sliced through the tension. "Mother, please, not everyone shares your quaint beliefs." The temperature in the room plummeted, and Cammy's hands trembled slightly as she clutched her water glass. The anger and raised voices ignited old memories she desperately tried to bury, her stepfather's rage echoing in her mind. Seeing the flicker of pain in her eyes, Luca's protective instinct surged. "I'm sorry, Cammy," he said gently. "This isn't how we usually welcome family to our table." "Family?" Thorn's voice turned sharp, laced with possessiveness. "She's my fiancée, not yours, brother." The subtle threat in his tone made Cammy's stomach churn with dread. "Of course," Luca replied carefully. "I just meant, I know what you meant." Thorn's hand gripped Cammy's wrist, firm but not painful, a warning embedded in the gesture. "Don't I, darling?" Cammy nodded, her heart sinking as she felt Luca's eyes upon her, filled with concern. This dinner, meant to be a celebration of love and family, had turned into a battlefield, the stakes higher than any of them could have anticipated. As the twilight deepened into a velvety night, Cammy found solace on the front porch, escaping the chaos that had accompanied dinner. The stars shimmered above the farm, brighter than any lights she had ever seen in the bustling city. Each twinkle seemed to pulse with life, filling her heart with a strange wonder, and for the first time in years, she pondered the existence of a divine hand crafting such exquisite beauty in the heavens. The stillness was interrupted by a soft question. "Can't sleep either?" Cammy turned to see Luca approaching, 2 steaming cups of coffee cradled gently in his hands, his earlier tension giving way to a tender concern. "I hope you don't mind," he said as he settled into the porch swing beside her, keeping a respectful distance, yet radiating warmth. "Mom always said coffee and starlight could cure most troubles." Cammy accepted the cup, its warmth grounding her in the moment. "Your mother is a wise woman," she replied, gratitude spilling from her lips. "And thank you for standing up for her at dinner, for standing up for your family." Luca gazed at her profile, illuminated by the moonlight. "Family is everything," he said simply, his tone reverberating with sincerity. "It's where we learn about love, God's love through the people he places in our lives." "Do you really believe that?" The question slipped out before she could catch it. "That God cares about families? About individuals?" "With every fiber of my being." The certainty in his voice made something inside Cammy stir, something long dormant, aching for hope. "Why do you ask?" Her silence stretched, a fragile moment hanging between them until she finally whispered, "When I was 13, my stepfather, he hurt me, nearly killed me. When I told my mother, she said I was lying, that I was trying to destroy her happiness." Her hands tightened around the coffee cup, as if it were the only thing anchoring her. If God cared, if he was really there, why didn't he stop it? Luca's heart splintered for the brave woman beside him. Without thinking, he reached out to cover her hands with his, but pulled back at the last moment, as if afraid to invade her space. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "I'm so sorry that happened to you. That evil exists in this world is one of the hardest truths we face. But Cammy, you survived. You're here, brilliant and beautiful and kind despite everything you've been through. Maybe that's how God answered, by giving you the strength to endure, to overcome." Tears glistened like diamonds on Cammy's cheeks, and as Luca reached out to gently wipe them away, she didn't pull back this time. "I want to believe," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I want to believe so badly it hurts." "Then believe," Luca urged softly. "Start small. Start with this moment, this peace, this feeling that you're not alone. That's God, Cammy. That's Him reaching out to you." From the window above, Thorn watched the intimate scene unfold, his hands clenched into fists. His brother was already trying to steal what belonged to him. Well, two could play that game. As the sun peeked over the horizon days later, Cammy awoke before dawn, drawn magnetically to the rhythm of farm life. Each morning, she joined Luca in the stables, ostensibly for her research on livestock, but truly because being near him brought a comforting peace she had never known. "Tell me about her," she said one morning, stroking the neck of Luna, a gentle mare who had recently given birth. "Luna? She's special. Came to us broken. Someone had beaten her, made her afraid of her own shadow. But with patience, with love." Luca's hands moved expertly as he checked the horse's legs. "Now look at her. She's learned to trust again." Cammy watched him, mesmerized by the way he handled the animal. Firm yet infinitely gentle, speaking in soothing tones that melted the barn's stillness. Here was a man who understood healing, who believed in redemption. "How do you do it?" she asked. "How do you have such faith when you see broken things every day?" Luca's smile lit up the barn, a radiant beacon in the early morning light. "Because broken things are God's specialty, Cammy. He takes what the world has damaged and makes it beautiful again, stronger than before." As if to validate his words, Luna nuzzled against Cammy's shoulder, her fear dissipating in the presence of kindness. "See," Luca said softly, "she knows you understand her." Their eyes locked across Luna's neck, and in that moment, something profound shifted within Cammy. A door she had kept locked for years creaked open, allowing a flood of emotion to rush in. "Luca, There you are!" Thorn's voice sliced through the morning air like a knife. He stood in the barn doorway, impeccably dressed, his cold gaze taking in the intimate scene. "Darling, we need to leave for the city. Uncle Derek wants to meet you today, remember?" Cammy's heart sank, reality crashing down around her. She had forgotten about the meeting, lost in the world of quiet mornings and gentle conversations. "Of course," she said, stepping away from Luna and from Luca. "I should get ready." As she hurried past Thorn toward the house, he caught her arm, his grip firmer than necessary. "Try not to get too attached to the rustic charm," he murmured, just enough pressure to feel uncomfortable. "We won't be staying long." Luca's jaw clenched, watching his brother's possessive display. But he held his tongue for now. The tension in the air crackled, a storm brewing just out of sight. In a city teeming with ambition, Derek Mateo's corner office loomed at the pinnacle of a gleaming skyscraper, its glass and steel facade epitomizing ruthless power. Inside, Derek, at 50, embodied all the traits his brother Roberto lacked: wealth, authority, and a chilling conviction that might made right. His piercing gaze appraised Cammy like a commodity, only half concealed by the veneer of familial interest. "So, you're the brilliant young woman who's captured my nephew's attention," he began, his tone dripping with condescension. "Harvard at 19. Impressive." Cammy, feeling both flattered and unsettled, managed a polite, "Thank you, Mr. Mateo." "Garrick, please, we're family now," he insisted, flashing a smile that revealed more teeth than warmth. "Thorn tells me you're interested in joining our agricultural division." "I am. I believe technology and traditional farming methods can work together to—" "Spare me the idealism, dear. This is about profit. Pure and simple. We buy up struggling family farms, consolidate them into efficient operations, and maximize yield. Sentimental attachment to family land is just an obstacle to progress," he interrupted, his voice clipped and devoid of empathy. Cammy felt a chill race up her spine. "Are you saying you target family farms specifically?" Derek shrugged, nonchalant. "Of course. They're the most vulnerable. Take my brother's farm, for instance. Roberto's been struggling for years." Too proud to accept help, too stubborn to see reason. One bad season, one unexpected expense, and well, family or not, business is business. Tension thickened in the air as Thorn shifted uncomfortably in his chair, silent, trapped between loyalty and ambition. You want to destroy your own brother's farm? Cammy's voice was barely a whisper, laden with disbelief. Destroy? Hardly. Modernize. Improve. Roberto would receive a generous settlement and could enjoy his retirement without the constant worry of weather and market fluctuations. Derek countered, dismissing her concerns with a wave of his hand. But it would break his heart. That land has been in your family for 3 generations. It's not just a business. It's a legacy, a trust passed down from father to son. Derek's eyes narrowed, an icy gleam igniting within. I see why my nephew is so taken with you. Such passion, but passion doesn't pay bills, my dear. Thorn understands this, don't you, nephew? All eyes turned to Thorn, who momentarily seemed to wrestle with his own conscience. A flicker of the boy who once danced barefoot through wheat fields crossed his face, but it was quickly masked by cold calculation. Uncle Derek is right, Thorn said finally, his voice steady but devoid of warmth. Sentiment is a luxury we can't afford in business. Cammy's heart sank. The man she had agreed to marry willing to sacrifice his own family for money and ambition. How had she been so blind? The drive back to the farm unfolded in taut silence, the weight of their conversation hanging heavily in the air. Finally, unable to bear the tension, Cammy broke the silence. How could you sit there and say nothing while your uncle plans to destroy your family? Thorn's grip on the steering wheel tightened, knuckles pale. It's not that simple, Cammy. You don't understand the pressures. I understand perfectly. You've become so obsessed with proving you're better than your family that you're willing to betray them. Betray them? Thorn's voice rose, laced with frustration. I'm trying to save them. Do you think they can compete with corporate agriculture? Do you think Luca's pretty speeches about God and tradition are going to pay the mortgage when the next drought hits? So you'll just hand them over to your uncle like sacrificial lambs? I'll give him a way out with dignity intact. No, she said softly. You'll give them a way out with your conscience intact. There's a difference. Thorn, furious, pulled the car over with a jarring jolt, gravel spraying against the windows. His face darkened with rage as he turned to her. Don't you dare lecture me about family loyalty. Your own mother threw you away the moment you became inconvenient. At least my family will be financially secure. The blow landed with devastating precision, and Cammy recoiled as if physically struck. That was cruel, she whispered, her voice shaking. That was honest, he shot back. But even as he spoke, he caught the hurt in her eyes. A flicker of shame crossed his face. Cammy, Don't, she interrupted, raising a hand as if to ward off his words. Just don't. The rest of the drive was saturated with silence, but within Cammy, a prayer began to form. God, if you're really there, please show me the truth. Show me what love is supposed to look like. Days passed, and in the solitude of an ancient grove, she stumbled upon a small chapel, its rough-hewn pews and wooden cross bathed in the golden light of sunset. Drawn by the whispers of evening songbirds, she entered, seeking solace. Beautiful, isn't it? A voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Luca, his demeanor hesitant as he stood at the doorway, hat in hand. Please, Cammy gestured for him to join her. Settling beside her, Luca spoke of the chapel's legacy, how his great-grandfather had built it as a sanctuary for the soul. As they sat in silence, the dust motes dancing in the light, Cammy finally voiced the turmoil within her. Luca, do you think God speaks to people? I mean, really speaks to them? His conviction radiated as he replied, I know he does. Not always in the way we expect, sometimes through that still, small voice in our hearts that tells us what's right. What if we're too broken to hear him? She questioned, her voice trembling. Luca turned to her, his gaze searching, as if he could see the wounds etched into her soul. What's wrong? He gently pressed, and the kindness in his voice broke through her defenses. Through tears, she shared her anguish, Derek's plan, Thorn's complicity, the cruelty of his words. "I've been such a fool," she whispered. "I thought I loved him, but I was just so grateful that someone wanted me after my mother." Without thinking, Luca took her hand, a gesture that felt right. This time, she didn't pull away. "You're not a fool, Cammy. You have a heart that wants to love and trust, despite everything you've been through. That's courage, that's grace," he urged. "But I'm engaged to your brother. I'm supposed to marry him next month." "Are you supposed to marry him? Or have you just been going through the motions because you're afraid of being alone again?" The question hit her like a revelation. In the golden light of the chapel, surrounded by a peace she hadn't known, truth dawned. "Oh my God, I don't love him. I don't think I ever loved him." "What do you feel for him?" "Gratitude, I suppose. He was the first man who didn't seem to want to hurt me." "But gratitude isn't love, is it?" "No, love is what makes your heart race when someone walks into a room. Love is feeling safe enough to be completely yourself with another person," he explained. And as he spoke, she realized what she felt for him was just that. "Luca," she whispered, her heart racing. He didn't answer with words but pressed a gentle kiss to her knuckles, a gesture that made her heart soar. "I've been praying for you since the day you arrived," he confessed, his eyes full of sincerity, "praying that God would heal your heart. I never dreamed he might use me as part of that healing." Something fundamental shifted inside her, a lock turning in the depths of her heart. "I want to pray," she declared. "I want to talk to God. Will you help me?" Luca's smile was radiant. "Nothing would honor me more." Together they knelt in the small chapel as the sun dipped below the horizon. Cammy opened her heart to her heavenly Father for the first time since childhood. "God," she whispered, tears streaming, "I don't know if you can hear me, but if you're there, please help me. Show me what to do. Give me the courage to follow your will, even if it's hard." As the words left her lips, a peace unlike anything she'd ever known washed over her. Warm light flooded her heart, dispelling years of pain and fear. Looking up, she found Luca watching her with profound love. And she understood. He heard her, and he was already beginning to answer. The farmhouse kitchen was dimly lit, shadows dancing along the walls as the last embers of daylight faded outside. Cammy and Luca stepped through the door, the air thick with tension. Thorn stood before them, his face a storm of suspicion and barely controlled rage, like a dark cloud ready to unleash its fury. "Where have you been?" he demanded, his voice low and menacing, his eyes darting back and forth between them. "I've been looking for you for hours, Cammy." Cammy's heart raced, but she held her ground. "I was at the chapel," she replied quietly, her voice steady despite the quaking in her chest. "Luca was kind enough to join me." Thorn's sarcasm cut through the air like a knife. "How kind of him. And what were you doing at the chapel, exactly?" "Praying," she said, the word hanging in the air like a sacred promise. His harsh laughter echoed off the walls, mocking and cruel. "Of course you were. Did my dear brother tell you that was what you needed? A little religious comfort?" Luca's protective instinct surged forth, his voice low and dangerous. "Don't mock what you don't understand." Thorn's eyes darkened, his voice dripping with venom. "Oh, I understand perfectly. I understand that you've been filling my fiancé's head with superstitious nonsense while I've been working to secure our future." Cammy straightened, a newfound strength coursing through her veins, igniting a fire she never knew existed. "Our future?" she shot back, her voice strong and unwavering. "The one where you help your uncle destroy your family's farm? Where you build your success on other people's pain? Thorn, please stop all this. You are scaring me." He dismissed her fears with a flick of his hand. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know exactly what I'm talking about. I was there, remember? I heard every word Derek said about targeting vulnerable family farms. I saw the look on your face when he talked about your father losing everything. For a split second, Thorn's mask slipped, revealing the ugly, desperate truth beneath. You think you're so much better than me now? So pure and holy, after one conversation with Saint Luca here? I think I deserve better than a man who would sell his soul for money and try to drag me down with him. The slap was swift, a shocking explosion of pain that left Cammy reeling. Her hand flew to her face, warm and throbbing, and in that moment she was 13 again, helpless and afraid. But this time she wasn't alone. Luca moved with the speed of lightning, catching her before she could fall, placing himself protectively between her and Thorn. The righteous anger etched on his face was terrifying, yet calming, like a fierce guardian in a storm. "Touch her again," he warned, his voice low and resolute, "and brother or not, I will put you down." Thorn staggered back, perhaps finally sensing that he had crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. "She's my fiancée," he spat, the words lacking any semblance of conviction. But Cammy wasn't done. Her voice shook, but strength surged within her with each word. "I was your fiancée. Now I'm the woman who's going to expose your uncle's scheme to your parents and everyone else who needs to know what kind of man you've become." With deliberate slowness, she pulled off the engagement ring, gaudy and heavy, a weight she had never wanted, and set it down on the kitchen counter with a sharp click that echoed like a gunshot in the heavy silence. "We're done, Thorn. We've been done since the moment I realized you care more about proving you're better than your family than you do about actually being better." With that, she walked out of the kitchen, leaving the two brothers to face each other across a chasm that could never be bridged. Dawn crept over the horizon as the golden light spilled into the farmhouse, but inside, darkness loomed. Roberto Mateo sat at the kitchen table, his hands trembling around a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. The official-looking papers spread before him were like heavy stones, weighing down his heart. Across from him, Elena clutched her robe tighter, her pale face a mask of shock and grief. "How much do we owe?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "More than the farm is worth," Roberto replied, each word heavy with despair. "The drought last summer, equipment repairs, your medical bills from the pneumonia." He rubbed his weathered hands over his face, the lines of worry etched deep. "I thought we could weather it. I thought this season would be different." The door creaked open, and Luca appeared, followed closely by Cammy, who had been unable to sleep after the confrontation with Thorn. "What's wrong?" Luca asked, moving instinctively to his father's side. "The bank," Elena said, her voice breaking. "They're calling in our loan. We have 30 days to pay in full or—" Her voice trailed off, unable to finish the grim sentence. "Or they foreclose," Roberto completed, his voice like gravel. 3 generations of Mateos on this land, and it ends with me." Cammy felt her heart fracture for this man who had shown her nothing but kindness. Without hesitation, she stepped forward, determination fueling her words. "How much do you need?" 3 sets of eyes turned to her in surprise and disbelief. "Cammy, dear," Elena started, her voice filled with concern. "That's very kind, but we couldn't possibly—" "Yes, you can. You took me in when I had nowhere to go. You showed me what real family looks like. You helped me find my faith." Cammy's voice grew stronger, each word a testament of her love for them. "I have a trust fund from my grandfather. It's more than enough to save the farm." Roberto stood slowly, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Child, we can't accept that kind of sacrifice from you." "It's not a sacrifice," Cammy said simply, her heart swelling with conviction. "It's an investment in the only real home I've ever known." Before anyone could respond, Thorn's voice sliced through the moment like a scythe. "How touching," he drawled from the doorway, disdain dripping from his every word. The rich girl playing savior to the poor farmers. Roberto's anger flared. "I heard about you hitting Cammy. I raised you better than that, boy. Men in this family respect women." Elena gasped, horrified. "Thorn, how can you speak that way about your family?" "Easily," Thorn replied, his face cold and unfeeling. Especially when I have better news. Uncle Derek is prepared to make an offer that will solve all your problems. He pulled out a contract and slapped it onto the table, the sound a dark promise. $2 million for the farm. Enough to pay your debts and live comfortably for the rest of your lives. Roberto stared at the contract as if it were a poisonous snake coiled to strike. And in return, Derek gets the land. You get your freedom from this burden you've been carrying. This burden? Luca's voice was dangerously quiet, his eyes aflame with indignation. This burden that's fed and sheltered you for 26 years? This burden that paid for your education and your fancy clothes? Thorn shot back, his voice filled with venom. This burden that's kept all of us trapped in mediocrity. Dad, be realistic. You're drowning in debt. The climate is changing, and corporate agriculture is taking over. This offer is your lifeline. It's also destroying everything your great-grandfather built, Cammy interjected, standing resolutely beside Luca. This land isn't just property, Thorn. It's a legacy. It's a covenant between your family and God. Thorn's laugh was jagged and ugly. God? You think God cares about a patch of dirt in the middle of nowhere? Before anyone could respond, a voice from the doorway interrupted. They turned to see Derek Mateo, impeccably dressed, radiating confidence and cold calculation. Roberto, Elena, so good to see you again. I trust Thorn has explained our generous offer? Generous? Luca stepped forward, his body coiled with tension, ready to defend his family's home. You're trying to steal our family's heritage. Steal? Derek feigned surprise, a smirk playing on his lip. My dear nephew, I'm offering to buy something that will be worthless to you in 30 days. That's not theft. That's mercy. Get out, Roberto said quietly, his voice thick with pain. Dad, Thorn began, but Roberto's voice boomed with authority. Get out, both of you. Get out of my house and off my land. Derek's expression remained unchanged, but something cold flickered in his eyes. Very well. But Roberto, when you change your mind, and you will, remember that my patience has limits, and sometimes the price goes down instead of up. He turned to leave, Thorn hesitating for just a moment before following. At the doorway, Thorn turned back, his eyes locking onto Cammy's with a heat that sent chills down her spine. This isn't over, he said quietly, the threat lingering in the air long after both men had gone. In the stillness that followed, Cammy felt the weight of what lay ahead. This battle was for hearts and home, and she was ready to fight. As the sun dipped below the sprawling oak trees, the warm hues of twilight filled the small chapel with an ethereal glow, barely illuminating the worn wooden pews and the altarpiece, which had seen countless prayers whispered into the stillness. Kneeling side by side, Luca and Cammy's hearts thudded in sync, heavy with the weight of the day's revelations and the shadows of uncertainty that loomed ahead. The air was thick with the scent of aged wood and the faintest hint of candle wax, grounding them in this sacred space. I'm scared. Cammy's voice trembled, each word laced with vulnerability. Her blue eyes, usually so bright, were clouded with worry. Not just about Thorn, but about what Derek might do. Men like him don't take no for an answer. Luca turned to her, the determination in his dark eyes shining like a beacon in the encroaching darkness. Neither do men like me, he said firmly, his hand enveloping hers with a warmth that promised safety. Cammy, I know this is complicated. We haven't known each other long, but I love you. I love you with everything I am. And I want to spend the rest of my life proving that you deserve to be cherished and protected. Her heart soared at his confession, but a shadow of doubt crept in. What about your family? What about the farm? She questioned, the fear of loss gnawing at her insides. We'll fight for it, together. You, me, Mom, and Dad. We'll find a way to save our home, Luca vowed, his voice steady, a promise rooted in love and resilience. Cammy's brow furrowed in concern. And if Thorn tries to stop us? Luca's jaw tightened, his resolve hardening. Then he'll have to go through me first. As if summoned by their conversation, a dark presence loomed in the doorway, the silhouette unmistakable. Thorn had arrived, no longer the polished businessman, but a figure now shrouded in menace. "How noble," he sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. The knight in shining armor and his stolen princess, plotting in their sacred grove. Luca rose to his feet, positioning himself protectively in front of Cammy. "You're trespassing," he declared, the air crackling with tension. "On my family's land? I don't think so." Thorn chuckled darkly, stepping further into the chapel, his arrogance desecrating the sanctity of the space. "I came to give Cammy one last chance to come to her senses." Cammy's resolve solidified as she stood tall beside Luca. "I already have. That's why I left you." The fury in Thorn's eyes twisted into a visage that horrified her, a reminder of the terror she had once endured. "You think you can just walk away from me?" he hissed, voice lowering to a menacing whisper. "You think you can humiliate me in front of my family and run off with my pathetic brother?" "Thorn, you need to leave, now," Luca warned, his tone brokering no argument. Yet Thorn's rage was a tide too strong to recede. In an instant, he lunged, not for Luca, but for Cammy, his hands outstretched with intent to harm. But he never made contact. Luca moved with the grace of a man who had spent years navigating danger, intercepting Thorn with a punch that echoed through the chapel. The crack of bone on bone resonated like a thunderclap, sending Thorn sprawling across the floor. "I warned you." Luca stood over his brother, voice firm and unwavering. "I told you what would happen if you touched her again." Thorn wiped the blood from his lip, eyes blazing with hatred. "This isn't over, little brother, not by a long shot. You want to play the hero? Fine. But heroes fall harder than anyone else." He staggered to his feet and stormed out, leaving behind an atmosphere thick with his threats, poison in the air. Cammy trembled, the confrontation unraveling the facade of calm she had carefully constructed. Luca wrapped her in his arms, the warmth of his embrace soothing her frayed nerves as she sobbed against his chest. "Shh," he whispered, fingers gently stroking her hair. "You're safe. I've got you. He'll never hurt you again." "He reminded me of—" "I know," Luca said softly, his voice a balm for her memories. "But you're not that frightened 13-year-old anymore, Cammy. You're a strong, brilliant woman of God, and you're not facing this alone." As her trembling subsided, Cammy pulled back, gazing into his earnest eyes, warm and honest, filled with unwavering love. "Marry me," she whispered, the weight of her intention crashing like waves against the shore of his heart. Luca's breath caught, surprise flooding his senses. "Cammy, I know it's fast, I know it seems crazy, but I love you, Luca Mateo. I love your faith, your strength, your gentleness. I love the way you see God in everything around us. I don't want to waste another day pretending we're not meant to be together." "Are you sure?" He cupped her face, eyes searching, seeking any hint of doubt. "Are you absolutely certain this is what you want?" "I've never been more certain of anything in my life." His answer came in a kiss, tender, reverent, brimming with promises and the kind of love that could withstand any storm. When they finally broke apart, both gasped for air, hearts racing with newfound hope. "Yes," he breathed against her lips, joy illuminating his features. "Yes, I'll marry you. I'll love you and protect you and cherish you for as long as God gives us breath." Meanwhile, in the city skyline that glittered with ambition and deceit, Derek Mateo poured himself a generous measure of expensive whiskey, the amber liquid swirling ominously like thoughts brewing in the night. Across from him, Thorn sat nursing the pain of his swollen jaw, but it was his pride that truly ached, bruised by the humiliation of defeat. "So your brother chose to be difficult," Derek mused, a cold smile stretching across his face, "and the girl chose him over you. How disappointing." "This isn't over," Thorn growled, fists clenched in turmoil. "Luca thinks he's won, but he has no idea what he's up against." "Indeed, he doesn't." Derek leaned forward, a predator assessing his prey. Did you know that your father's insurance policy has a very interesting clause about accidental damage to livestock? A barn fire, perhaps, or a contaminated water supply. Such things can bankrupt a farm overnight. Thorn's gaze sharpened as realization swept over him. You're talking about sabotage. I'm talking about expediting the inevitable. Your father is a stubborn man, but even the most stubborn rock eventually yields to water. We just need to apply the right kind of pressure. And if someone gets hurt? Thorn's conscience flickered, a last vestige of humanity struggling against the tide of vengeance. Derek shrugged, the indifference in his posture chilling. Business always involves acceptable risks. The question is, are you willing to do what it takes to win? Thorn's mind filled with memories. The laughter of childhood summers spent on the farm, his mother's proud smile on his graduation day, Cammy's look of love before it all unraveled. But the image of her in Luca's arms ignited a ferocity within him, burning away his hesitation. "What do you need me to do?" he asked, the darkness settling in his heart. Derek's smile was predatory. "Tomorrow night, you'll meet me at the farm. We'll take care of the water supply first, just enough contamination to make the animals sick. When the veterinary bills start piling up and the health department gets involved, your father will have no choice but to sell. And Cammy?" Thorn's voice held a hint of uncertainty, but the fury was undeniable. "Once the farm is gone and Luca is broken, she'll see what a mistake she made. Rich girls don't stay with poor farmers for long, nephew. Trust me on that." Under the cloak of midnight, the farm lay shrouded in an eerie stillness, broken only by the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze. The moon cast a silvery glow over the weathered barn, its wooden frame creaking ominously. A shadow moved stealthily across the farmyard, a figure cloaked in darkness with a small container clutched tightly in his hand. He was a saboteur, one of Derek's hired men, and tonight he was tasked with a heinous plot. His intent was to poison the livestock's water supply, a step that would plunge the farm into chaos with costly veterinary bills and quarantine procedures. Just as he neared the barn, a low growl reverberated through the air, a primal sound that sent the intruder's heart racing. Emerging from the shadows, Rex, the farm's loyal German shepherd, stood with his hackles raised, teeth gleaming in the moonlight. "Easy, boy," the intruder whispered, reaching for the tranquilizer dart hidden in his pocket. But Rex had no intention of backing down. With a fierce bark that shattered the stillness, the dog's warning triggered a cascade of lights from the farmhouse. Panic surged through the saboteur as he muttered a curse, abandoning his sinister mission and sprinting toward the fence where his motorcycle awaited. Inside the barn, Luca and his father, Roberto, rushed in, weapons drawn. Rex stood guard over a small glass vial, its pungent chemical odor wafting through the air. Someone tried to poison the water supply, Roberto concluded grimly, carefully lifting the vial with a rag. If Rex hadn't been patrolling, the entire herd could have been lost, Luca finished, the gravity of the situation settling like a heavy fog in his chest. This wasn't random vandalism, Dad. This was a professional job. Father and son exchanged worried glances, both arriving at the same dark realization. "Derek," Roberto said simply, but the weight of that name hung heavily between them. "We can't prove it." "Not yet," Luca replied, frustration lacing his words. "Then we'd better find a way to prove it fast," Roberto insisted, "because this is just the beginning." The next morning, the sun rose reluctantly over the county, casting long shadows as Roberto and Luca entered Sheriff Tom Bradley's office. Tom had known the Mateo family for decades, and as they described the previous night's events, concern etched deeper lines on his face. Livestock poisoning is a federal crime, but without witnesses or fingerprints. Luca leaned forward, desperation creeping into his voice. "What if we told you we suspect who's behind it?" The sheriff's demeanor shifted to caution. "You'd better have more than suspicion if you're planning to make accusations." "Derek Mateo," Roberto said quietly, the name tasting bitter on his tongue. "He's been trying to force us to sell the farm. He made threats about acceptable risks in business yesterday. Tom's expression hardened. That's hearsay, and you know it. Derek's a prominent businessman. I can't investigate him based on your suspicions. Defeated, they left the sheriff's office, but as they climbed into Roberto's old pickup truck, a text message buzzed on Luca's phone. If you want proof of what Derek Mateo is planning, meet me at the old Miller place at 3 p.m. Come alone. A friend. Dad, I think someone wants to help us, Luca said slowly, hope flickering in his chest. At the abandoned Miller farmhouse, remnants of a forgotten life awaited. As Luca approached, he called out, the word echoing in the desolate space. A figure emerged, a man he didn't recognize, dressed sharply but fidgety, constantly checking his watch. You're Luca Mateo? He asked. I am. And you are? Someone who's made some very bad choices. My name is Marcus Webb. I worked for Derek until this morning when I quit. Curiosity piqued, Luca asked, why did you quit? With a grimace, Marcus revealed a tablet packed with damning evidence. Details of a systematic plan to destroy the Mateo family's farm. Anger surged within Luca as he scrolled through the documents, seeing the calculated malice that Derek had plotted. It gets worse, Marcus said, swiping to a new screen revealing chemical analysis reports. What they tried to put in your water supply wouldn't just have made your livestock sick. It would have tainted your groundwater for decades. Luca felt a chill creep down his spine. Will you testify? Will you give this evidence to the authorities? I'll do better than that, Marcus offered, pulling out a device. I've been recording Derek's conversations for weeks, ordering the sabotage, bribing officials. Derek has been planning this for months, Luca realized, the weight of their predicament crashing down on him. We have to get this to Sheriff Bradley, Luca urged. Later that evening, the family gathered in the kitchen, the evidence laid out before them like shards of a broken mirror. Each photograph and document held the weight of betrayal. I can't believe it, Elena whispered, horror in her eyes. My own son. Roberto's face hardened. He's not our son anymore, Elena. Our son died the day he chose money over family. Desperation filled the room as they pondered their next move. We fight, Luca declared. Sheriff Bradley has what he needs to stalk Derek. It's over for them. But with the farm's future still uncertain, Cammy spoke up, her voice unwavering. Let me save the farm. This is my home now. This is my family, and families protect each other. Roberto's eyes filled with tears, the warmth of acceptance washing over Cammy. If you're sure this is what you want. With a fierce nod, Cammy replied, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. As they embraced, Luca felt a swell of gratitude in his heart. In the face of greed and betrayal, they had found not just hope, but a family bound by love and resilience. God had turned their darkest hours into something beautiful, weaving their lives together in a tapestry of unwavering faith. In the hushed stillness of the courthouse, Derek Mateo found himself a man transformed. A once proud titan of industry, his tailored suit now lay crumpled and stained, a testament to his recent fall from grace. 3 weeks had passed since his world shattered, and here he stood before Judge Harrison, shackled like a common criminal, as a litany of charges echoed through the chamber. Conspiracy, attempted sabotage, bribery, fraud, racketeering. Each word was a dagger, piercing through the facade he had carefully crafted. Sheriff Bradley sat in the gallery, flanked by Marcus Webb, a man whose testimony had turned the tide against Derek. Behind them, the Mateo family sat like solemn statues, Roberto, Elena, Luca, and Cammy, each face etched with a mixture of sorrow and vindication. Derek's eyes churned with anger as they landed on Cammy, the one he blamed most for the unraveling of his twisted schemes. Your Honor, Derek's lawyer began, his voice dripping with bravado. My client is a pillar of the business community. These charges are based on the testimony of a disgruntled former employee. The judge's voice cut through the air like a knife. a disgruntled former employee who provided audio recordings, documented evidence, and corroborating witnesses. Mr. Mateo, you stand accused of conspiracy to commit multiple felonies. How do you plead? In that moment, Derek's gaze locked onto Roberto's, across the room. For a fleeting instant, his mask slipped, and a flicker of regret washed over his face before it hardened again. Walls re-erected around his heart. Not guilty, Your Honor. The gavel struck. Very well. Bail is denied. Trial date is set for. A voice broke through the tension, startling everyone. Thorn, looking frail and aged beyond his years, walked down the aisle, a ghost of the man he used to be. I'd like to make a statement, he declared, eyes scanning the courtroom as if searching for redemption. Derek's lawyer jumped to his feet, indignant. Your Honor, this is highly irregular. But Thorn pressed on, determination igniting his voice. I want to confess. I want to tell the truth about what I've done. Judge Harrison regarded him with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Mr. Mateo, I strongly advise you to consult with an attorney before making any statements. Ignoring the warning, Thorn turned to his family, tears cascading down his cheeks. I need to tell the truth and face the consequences. The tension shifted outside the courthouse, where the Mateo family gathered on the steps under the waning sunlight, shadows stretching long across the granite stairway. I don't expect forgiveness, Thorn began, his voice raw like an open wound. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what I've done. Elena stepped forward, her maternal heart aching for her lost son. Thorn, no, Mom, let me finish. He wiped his eyes, the struggle within evident. I was so angry, so determined to prove I was better than this life, that I hurt everyone I was supposed to love and protect. Turning to Luca, he continued, You were right about everything, about family, about faith, about what it means to be a man. I chose pride over love, and it cost me everything. Luca spoke gently. It doesn't have to cost you everything. God's grace. Thorn interrupted, holding up a hand. I'm not ready for that conversation yet. Maybe someday, but not yet. Finally, he faced Cammy, and something dark flickered in his eyes, a possessive intensity that sent a chill through her. Cammy, he said, his voice shifting to that familiar, persuasive tone. I know I've made mistakes, but we can start over. I'm going to prison, yes, but I'll get out eventually. You can wait for me. We can... She cut him off, her voice steady and resolute. No, Thorn, I hope you find peace and redemption, but not with me. I'm going to marry Luca. His expression soured, darkness creeping in. You think you love him, but you don't know what love is. You were mine first. You belong to me. Cammy stepped closer to Luca, a protective instinct igniting. I don't belong to anyone. I choose to give my heart to Luca because he's earned it through kindness, patience, and genuine love. Thorn's voice dropped to a menacing whisper. This isn't over. You'll realize your mistake, and when you do, I'll be waiting. As deputies approached, he allowed them to lead him away, but Cammy was left with a sense of dread, his words lingering like a shadow over her heart. 2 months later, the serene farm parking area buzzed with the sounds of nature, but peace shattered when Cammy heard a car door slam behind her. Turning, she saw Thorn striding toward her, looking sharp in an expensive suit, his smile a mask over darkness. Hello, beautiful, he greeted, as if nothing had changed. Thorn. Her heart raced, anxiety wrapping around her like a vice. What are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be in prison? Good behavior and an excellent lawyer, he replied, confidence oozing from him. I served 6 months of a 2-year sentence, plenty of time to think about what I really want, which is you. His voice dripped with the old possessiveness. I know I made mistakes, Cammy, but I've changed. I can give you everything, money, travel, a life beyond this dusty farm. I don't want that life, she retorted, backing toward the truck, desperation edging into her tone. I'm happy here. I'm engaged to Luca. Thorn's demeanor shifted, a storm brewing in his eyes. That mistake can be corrected. You think you love my brother, but you don't. You're grateful to him. That's all. Gratitude isn't love. You're wrong. Cammy shot back, her voice quaking yet firm. What I feel for Luca is real love, the kind you never showed me. The mask slipped further, revealing the fury beneath. You're coming with me, Cammy, one way or another. He lunged, gripping her arm painfully, the familiarity of his touch sending her spiraling back to darker days. My car is right there. We're going to walk to it together. Get in and drive away. You can make this easy or difficult. Let go of me, she cried, fear surging through her veins. Not this time. I'm not losing you to my sanctimonious brother, he snarled, dragging her toward a black sedan. In desperation, Cammy grabbed a handful of gravel and flung it into his face. He cursed, loosening his grip just enough for her to break free. She sprinted toward the farmhouse, hope igniting within her. But Thorn was faster. He tackled her, sending them both crashing to the ground, pain jolting through her shoulder as it struck a rock. Now you've made this harder than it had to be, he growled, dragging her toward the car despite her cries. Meanwhile, 3 fields away, Luca was inspecting the irrigation lines when an overwhelming urgency gripped him. The voice of the Holy Spirit resonated within him. Cammy needs you, now. The sun hung low in the sky, casting an amber glow over the fields, and with a surge of divine purpose, he took off running, determined to reach her before it was too late. Luca crested the hill, the golden rays of the sun dipped behind the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and violet. Out in the dusty farmyard, his heart sank as he spotted Thorn, his brother, forcefully dragging Cammy toward a sinister black car. Her left arm hung at an awkward angle, a testament to the pain she endured. The air felt electric, charged with tension as Luca's voice boomed across the yard like distant thunder. Thorn! Thorn spun around. His face drained of color as he beheld Luca, who approached with the determination of an avenging angel. Fury and love mixed in his gaze. Let her go, Luca commanded, his tones steady, lethal. The firmness of his voice held the weight of his resolve, a stark contrast to the chaos around them. She's coming with me, Thorn replied, wickedness lacing his words as he tightened his grip on Cammy, whose whimpers of pain pierced the air like arrows. She belongs to me. Luca's patience thinned. The only thing you belong to is a prison cell. Let her go. His steady march advanced, each step fueled by love and a desperate need to protect. Instead of complying, Thorn backed toward the car, using Cammy as a shield. Stay back, brother, where she gets hurt worse than she already is. This was Luca's breaking point. The restraint he'd clung to, the brotherly love he cherished, shattered under Thorn's cruel threat to the woman who held his heart. With a roar of righteous fury, Luca lunged forward, his fist connected with Thorn's jaw, a sickening crack echoing through the still evening air. Thorn crumpled to the ground, finally releasing Cammy from his grasp. She collapsed into Luca's arms, her sobs mingling pain and relief as he gently cradled her injured shoulder. It's okay, he murmured, his voice a soothing balm despite the tempest of rage within. You're safe now. I've got you. Thorn struggled to his feet, blood trickling from his split lip, disbelief etched across his features. You broke my jaw, he said, astonished. You're lucky I didn't break your neck, Luca retorted, eyes blazing with protective ferocity. Touch her again, ever, and I will. Thorn's bravado crumbled, revealing vulnerability beneath the hardened exterior. She was supposed to be mine. I saw her first. I chose her first. Luca helped Cammy to her feet, the tenderness with which he held her contrasting sharply with Thorn's bitterness. You never chose her, he said, his voice steady. You chose to own her. There's a difference you'll never understand. Thorn stared at them, realization dawning as he observed the trust in Cammy's eyes, and the way Luca cradled her as if she were precious crystal. You think you're better than me? Thorn spat, bitterness lacing his tone. No, Luca replied quietly, devoid of any kindness. I think I'm different than you, and after today, I'm grateful for that difference. He looked at Thorn, eyes cold and unyielding. We are no longer brothers, Thorn. A brother protects what his family loves. He doesn't destroy it. You're dead to me. The finality in Luca's voice hit Thorn like an unexpected blow. As sheriff's deputies arrived, summoned by a neighbor who'd overheard the commotion, Thorn felt the weight of his loss, his family, his freedom, and the woman he'd never truly loved. Led away in handcuffs, he glanced back just once. Luca was carefully helping Cammy into his truck, ready to drive her to the hospital. Thorn had gambled everything to reclaim her, and lost completely. No confession or tearful apologies awaited him now. He had made his choice, and it had cost him the last vestiges of his humanity. 1 year later, the little chapel brimmed with laughter and warmth. Friends and family gathered to celebrate the union of Luca Mateo and Cammy St. Elena had adorned the sanctuary with flowers from her garden, their fragrant beauty mingling with the afternoon light that poured in like a divine blessing. Cammy marveled at the transformation in her life. The trust fund money had not only saved the farm, but allowed it to flourish. Solar panels glinting in the sunlight, upgraded equipment humming with efficiency, and sustainable farming practices taking root, providing a legacy for generations to come. Pastor Williams stood at the simple wooden altar, his face radiant with joy as he prepared to unite two souls whose love had rewritten their destinies. In the front pew, Roberto dabbed tears from his eyes, while Elena squeezed his hand, recalling the broken girl who had once arrived on their doorstep, now a radiant woman glowing with newfound strength. When the chapel doors opened, Luca's breath caught in his throat. Cammy appeared, adorned in Elena's wedding dress. A tapestry of grace and tradition altered just for her. A crown of wildflowers nestled in her hair, her face lit with a happiness so pure it illuminated the entire chapel. She walked down the aisle alone, not from absence, but from a powerful choice made in her heart. This was her journey, her decision, her victory. As she reached the altar, Luca took her hands, whispering, "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." "Are you ready to start forever?" Cammy replied, her voice a tender promise. "I've been ready since the moment I met you," Luca affirmed, love radiating from him. Pastor Williams addressed the congregation, his voice resonating throughout the space. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness something miraculous, the union of two hearts that God has joined together. Their love story began with brokenness, but has blossomed into a testament of redemption and hope." The ceremony, simple yet profound, unfolded as they exchanged vows written from their hearts, promises to love and honor, to support each other through all of life's seasons, and to nurture their shared faith while welcoming others into their sanctuary. When Pastor Williams pronounced them husband and wife, the chapel erupted in joyous celebration. As Luca kissed his bride, the sun broke free from a passing cloud, bathing them in golden light that danced around them, a visible blessing upon their union. A new beginning was not just a dream, but a beautiful reality forged through love, resilience, and the promise of forever. In the heart of a sprawling countryside, beneath a canopy of ancient oak trees strung with twinkling lights, the air was alive with the sweet scent of freshly baked bread and the laughter of friends. The farmhouse yard had transformed into a magical realm for Luca and Cammy's wedding reception. Tables groaned under the weight of Elena's savory dishes, and a dance floor, crafted with love by Roberto's own hands, awaited the first couple to step upon it. As dusk settled, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow, and the first stars began to twinkle above, igniting a sense of wonder in the hearts of the guests. Luca, tall and sturdy, with eyes that shimmered like the starlit sky, took Cammy's hand, guiding her onto the dance floor. She wore a gown that flowed like a gentle breeze, accentuating her delicate frame and highlighting the radiant smile that lit up her face. "Any regrets?" he asked softly, their bodies swaying in rhythm to the gentle music that enveloped them. The moment hung heavy between them, a blend of hope and vulnerability. Cammy's voice trembled as she replied, "Only one. I regret all the years I wasted believing I wasn't worth loving." Her confession hung like a cloud, casting a shadow momentarily over their joy. Luca's heart ached for her, but he spun her gently under his arm and smiled, his voice resolute. "Well, you have the rest of your life to make up for lost time. I plan to spend every day proving how precious you are to me, and to God." In that moment, the air around them felt charged with promise, as if the universe conspired to weave their fates together. As the evening wore on, laughter and stories intertwined, creating a fabric of joy that wrapped around each guest. Sheriff Bradley, with a twinkle in his eye, toasted to the couple who had not only united in love, but had also helped restore justice to their community. Marcus Webb, now a beacon of hope for struggling farmers, raised his glass to second chances and new beginnings, setting the tone for the vibrant celebration of love triumphing over adversity. 5 years cascaded by like the stars in the heavens, and the Mateo farm flourished under the careful stewardship of Luca and Cammy. They had embraced sustainable practices, transforming their farm into a model of hope and resilience, a sanctuary not just for crops but for troubled souls seeking solace. Their doors opened wide, welcoming teens searching for purpose, couples forging bonds of faith, and anyone yearning for the embrace of unconditional love. Cammy, once shackled by doubt, had blossomed. Completing her master's degree in agricultural science through correspondence courses, she emerged as a beacon of knowledge and inspiration. Now, she poured her heart into writing a book about faith-based farming practices, capturing interest from eager publishers nationwide. But the greatest joy of all was found in their family. 3-year-old Elena Rose Mateo, with her father's dark hair and her mother's green eyes, radiated the kind of light that could chase away any shadow. She was a fearless spirit, often found roaming the barn, her 2 tiny arms stretched wide as she greeted the animals, who seemed to recognize her unique essence. Just 6 months prior, baby Roberto Lucas had entered their world, already displaying the gentle strength of his grandfather and the profound love of his father for the land they cherished. One late summer evening, the sun was setting in a blaze of orange and pink as Luca and Cammy sat on the porch. They watched their daughter play in the yard, her laughter mingling with the soft rustle of wheat in the breeze, while Roberto peacefully dozed in Cammy's arms. Luca, a thoughtful expression on his face, broke the comfortable silence. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd never come to the farm?" Cammy pondered his question, her heart filled with the weight of their shared journey. "I don't think God would have allowed that," she finally responded, her gaze distant yet focused. "I believe He had this planned from the beginning. My pain, my healing, our love, this family. He was preparing us for each other long before we ever met." Her words hung in the air, heavy with conviction, as if the cosmos itself had woven their fate with purpose. "Even through all the darkness?" Luca pressed, his voice low. "Especially through the darkness. How else would we have learned to appreciate the light?" As if to affirm her words, little Elena bounded over, her tiny arms overflowing with wildflowers. "For Mama," she announced, pride shimmering in her eyes as she offered the bouquet. "They're beautiful, sweetheart," Cammy said, accepting the delicate blooms. "Just like you." "Just like our whole life," Luca added, pulling Cammy and their daughter close. A family bound by love and faith. As the stars twinkled overhead, the Mateo family gathered on the porch, weaving stories of the past while building their present. Together, they represented all the hope and promise of the future. They were living proof that love can conquer any obstacle, that faith can heal the deepest wounds, and that God truly works all things together for good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. In the distance, waves of golden wheat swayed in the evening breeze, ripe with promise, echoing the journey of their hearts, once broken, now healed. It was a testament to the miracle of love, where a broken girl and a faithful man met in a little chapel, forever altering the course of their lives. The end.
Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe for more Christian love stories.